Hello and welcome to Death Mute Studio. In this review I am going to be talking about 2003's The Hunted. Deep breath, that was a long sentence. Let's have it. The Hunted is directed by legendary filmmaker William Friedkin, who's best known for The Exorcist, Sorcerer, French Connection, to name a few. He's made loads, the man is a genuine cinematic heavyweight. Starring the forever old Tommy Lee Jones as retired military instructor L.T. Bonham, and Benicio del Toro as former student to L.T. Aaron Hallam. It also stars Connie Nielsen of Gladiator fame, but there's nothing for her to do in this film, so this will be the only time she gets a mention, which is a shame because she's a boss actor. To the plot. After a spate of grisly murders performed in an almost ritualistic way, the experienced survival expert and former military instructor L.T. Bonham is summoned to track down the elusive and shockingly familiar killer, one of his best pupils, Aaron Hallam. Holed up in the wet and tangled wilderness of Oregon's Silver Falls State Park, Aaron, now a tormented and delusional killing machine, will soon come face to face with his grizzled mentor in a no-holds-bar hand-to-hand combat. Suddenly, age, experience, strength, and a feral will to survive blur the line between a hunter and his prey. Now, who is the Hunted? So, The Hunted. The best way I could describe this film is an ambiguous Rambo, or a modern-day retelling of Frankenstein's monster, and I'll tell you why. The Rambo connection. Like Rambo, The Hunted is about a man who has been pushed too far by his government and has seen too much murder, too much chaos, too much everything. He spent so long on the wild side he can no longer see the woods from the trees. And all that's left is his killer instinct. Or is it? Is Aaron Hallam someone who's just been pushed too far and snapped? Or is he just a psychopathic murdering nutjob? We don't actually get to know the answer to that. Whereas with Rambo, we know exactly who we're cheering for. Hallam, on the other hand, is more complex than John Rambo, or at least ambiguous. We see both sides of Hallam, human and monster, but we're never shown this in a definitive sense. We see Hallam's human side as a caring father figure, a friend, and in some ways a son to LT. We see him trying to reach out to LT about his decreasing mental state and is cruelly ignored by LT. And then there's Hallam's animal/cruel side, which I found to be quite jarring, because during the film we're told that Hallam's battle stress has become so deep that it's a part of his personality and impossible to reverse. He seems alright to me. Well, you know, except for the ritual murder at the beginning, all the other murders, the reckless endangerment. But in a strange way, he never seemed all that unhinged. He seemed okay to what I assumed was his girlfriend and his girlfriend's daughter. He was caring, compassionate, which goes against everything that the film was trying to tell us about him. Unless that's the narrative of the government agents that are trying to kill him, but they got killed off halfway through the film. And the only people that are officially after him are the local police and LT, which also baffled me. If the government were actually after him, surely they'd send more after him when the others got killed off than just leaving it to local PD. We never get that confirmation if Hallam is as mad as a fish, or if he's actually being swept under the rug by the government, or both. So, the Frankenstein's monster comparison. I kinda like the modern day retelling of Frankenstein's monster element, with LT creating this ultimate warrior.
A warrior! Coming off the rope! Cover it!
Not him. And then just washing his hands of him completely, taking no responsibility for his actions and refusing to acknowledge the creature he's created. It plays into the ambiguity of the film too. Here we have LT, who was meant to be the hero of the film, but if he would have been a more caring and responsible person, all this could have been avoided. And you end up sympathising with Hallam because he's been rejected by the only father figure he's ever known. The film feels incomplete, as if it was interfered with by the studio. There are so many plot holes, leaps in logic, missing threads. Like, why did Hallam snap? Why did Hallam do the ritualistic slaughter at the beginning? How did Hallam find the time to set up all those elaborate booby traps in the forest? Why did LT ignore him? Why did the military only send a handful of guys to go after Hallam? There's ambiguity, which I like. I mean, there's nothing worse than a film talking slowly and loudly at you as if you're an idiot. but there's a massive difference in allowing your audience to speculate on certain aspects of the story than making your audience come up with the answers for everything. By the end of the film, I ended up like Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, trying to find out who Pepe Sylvia is. It wasn't all frustrating though. We got a typical William Friedkin car chase scene, which is always good, and to be fair, the rest of the action scenes were really good. Everything was grounded in reality, which made the action scenes and the fight scenes great to watch. I'm a huge fan of the fighting style that they've shown in the film. It's not something that I'd seen before in the film, and I was genuinely on the edge of my seat watching it. Particularly the hand-to-hand / knife fights between LT and Hallam. It was close, intimate, and you felt every impact / slice. It kind of reminded me of the knife fight between Tommy Lee Jones and Steven Seagal in Under Siege, except it was good. I'm not slagging off Under Siege there, by the way. What I mean is the knife fight between LT and Hallam seemed more real. I also found myself quite mesmerised by Tommy Lee Jones' performance in the film, particularly during the chase and action scenes. He really did look like an old hunter trying to track his prey. It's kind of hard to explain, but the way he moved, ran and jumped over obstacles, he reminded me of a chimpanzee. Honestly, I'm not taking the by that. It was the way he carried himself, and he didn't burst into action. He took it all in stride. Like when you see a chimp running, although they are running, it looks effortless. And that's what Tommy Lee Jones was like. I think that's an accurate description. Put it this way, for an older gentleman, he's very spry. He also had this slight tick with his hands. Whenever he was in an urban environment or generally out of his comfort zone, you'd see he'd have this little tick in his hands moving, and I thought it was quite a really cool thing to do, quite nuanced. Showing that he's not really comfortable around people and he prefers a simpler existence. Like he's a person from a bygone era. He's better suited to living in the wilderness alone. Like I mentioned before, the film feels incomplete, and I don't think a filmmaker like Friedkin would be this ambiguous with a story or his characters. It does feel like studio interference, which is a shame. I could be wrong, and Friedkin could have just dropped a on this one. I think if that wasn't an issue, then the film would be more highly regarded than what it is today. But there are a lot of interesting things going for it, particularly Tommy Lee Jones's performance, who brings a lot of subtle nuances to his character, which is great to watch. Benicio del Toro's performance was a bit over the top, but it's not the first time that's happened, and it won't be the last. I've always enjoyed the Benicio del Toro roulette. It might not always work, but it's always fun to watch. The Hunter definitely feels like we've been presented an incomplete jigsaw puzzle, and told if you look at it hard enough you can make out the picture, but nah. But you get the impression that the full picture would have been really great to see. So that's my review of 2003's The Hunted. Have you seen the film? Do you agree with my review? Let me know on social media and the comment section below. Please support the channel by liking the video and subscribing, it will help me out massively. But most importantly, thanks for watching. Ta-da.